Hello, I'm Marco. I am a Scrum Master and I hold a CAPM from PMI. So I read the PMP book before and I know it's very dry. And so I decided to write this, to do this blog for you guys that are studying for the PMP because I'm also going through the same process. So I decided, well, I also write a couple blogs here and there about project managers, as you can see on the screen. I like Ricardo Vargas, who explains real good, and Dr. Risk, and I have written a couple of other things. But in any case, I was browsing through YouTube, and I found this guy. His name is Scott. All right, Scott Payne, and I was surprised to see that he pretty much thinks the way I do when it comes to project management. He's asking why and how we're going to do things and what tools we're going to use. And he does it by phases. He starts by the processes of initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing. In any case, instead of doing it by knowledge area, he explains it by process groups, and it's very interesting. And it caught my eye. Let me show you a little bit of what I found, and so you can see how involved this guy is.
And then we say, how are we going to evaluate as we go forth? Because there's a fourth project baseline that I talked about, right? And that's the performance measurement baseline. And we're going to go through these in more in depth, but I want to introduce you to the topics. So the performance measurement baseline integrates all three of those, scope, schedule, and cost baselines. And it gets it in a way so that we can evaluate the baseline as we go through. Because you think about when you go into a project, what are your bosses and everybody else ask you? How are we doing as far as the process goes? And that's all in the error and value management section, which, we define really well later. But they're going to ask you, how are we doing? You're going to integrate those three things in the performance management baseline. You're going to say we're ahead or behind of what we thought our baseline was, which is our prediction for the future for what we should be at certain points. So that's what we're trying to do here. We have four baselines. You know what they are? If you take a second and say them out loud to me: scope, schedule, cost, performance measurement baseline. Those are our four baselines. We're going to go through them later. That's a good thing to know. And then we have 12 subsidiary plans. Every single one of the knowledge areas has a plan. And we have the mother of all plans, the project management plan that compiles all these things.
So as you can see, the guy brings the things alive. So I was so into it that I decided to buy in Amazon his audiobook. All right, and I also bought the Kindle version of his book, which is the PMP Exam Prep. And again, while I read through it, I listen to it, and I get involved. It's so cool. And by the way, it's recognized by the PMI Institute. And so this is the book, and it's very, very, very concise and easy to understand. This guy explains it in such a beautiful way. So let me give you guys a little taste of what he does. And let me back up a little bit. I'm gonna go and this is what I do. Let's say that I'm gonna study the defined scope. So I do both. I go to my Audible and read the book at the same time.
The next scope management process in the planning process group is called define scope. And in the PMBOK guide, that's number 5.3. Now, to summarize define scope, you got to understand that the collect requirements process that we just talked about developed and prioritized an extensive list of product requirements. Now, significant effort was made to understand each stakeholder's unique vision of the requirements. The defined scope process, this is where we are right now, builds on the work done in the collect requirements process to prune that list into the essential requirements that the project will deliver. Now, this process uses that final list of requirements to craft a clear description of the product scope, known as the product scope statement.
See? So he gives you a summary, then he gives you hints of what you should know. Like, he later goes on and talk about scope creep, and he focuses on the outputs, on the main outputs, and explains it to you really, really well. And then he goes and explains why the inputs are important, how they contribute to create the outputs. And of course, he explains the tools and techniques. Beautiful. Okay, so let me show you something else. I'm gonna go to his, this is the PN Master Prep free stuff, where he's got the book that I just showed you. He's got another one that it says it has 128 questions, very well explained, and a new book that is going to publish this week regarding AVM. So let me go to the main menu, and as you can see, this is all of the stuff that he offers. It's fantastic. Okay, now this is a very important one because he goes through in a video and explains 58 great questions, and it's very insightful. If you want to proceed to the exam simulator, he's got to break it down in many forms. He has it by process group, by knowledge area, and you can be testing your knowledge as you learn. For example, if I want to test myself in initiation, I just click here and it gives me the results, and I can go back and study and take notes and stuff. It's great. The simulator is great. All right. The one view is looking at the heroes. They say that I want to see create WBS 5.4. You got your inputs, your tools and techniques, and the main stuff that you're going to get, which is the baseline and the product documents updates. If you want to see what the baseline is, you get a definition. Of course, you can get more insight in the book and the flashcards, which I want to show you in a little bit. There is the EVM calculator. Fantastic. I love it. Then the videos of the case studies. It's got like 25 case studies where you have a fictitious person. It's a PM that he encounters. His name is John, and he encounters all of the problems and issues and and the processes that he should take, like in a real life project. Okay, so it's in the book, but it's explained here in more detail. Well, in detail, and you're gonna enjoy it. So you got now in another section where he explains in detail the formulas and the calculations and student success secrets. Then you can go to testimonials, which has got a lot. His podcast, and I wanted to mention that anywhere uh, you can chat in a group setting, or you can email him, and Scott will and his team will get back to you. They always do. They're great people. Now, there is one little thing that I want to show you, which is the flashcards. The flashcards are something that it's a it's like in the form of a question, but it covers like every single process. It's amazing. So you get to learn as you go with logic and without memorizing, without brain dumping. Okay? So you learn by understanding. So I strongly recommend that you check out his webpage right here, PMP Master Prep, and you're gonna be battle ready, like he says. So I that's all I got to say. Bye, guys.